Hello, welcome. My name is Prabhash Kalagedara. I'm a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, and I have also studied technology and AI and become an expert in AI for last 10 years. And welcome to the session. Today I'm going to cover background about AI and some applications in finance that you're going to see when you get into the workplace. I know some of you are qualified accountants already and going to get your membership, and some of you are doing your final. So good luck to those who are doing exam, and good luck to those who are basically finished the exams and going into the workplace. So let's get into the session. Today I'm going to basically cover three things. I'll do a very quick introduction to AI and why that is important, and also I'll go through AI applications in various part of finance processes, and I'll show you a plan, plan for yourself and a plan for your organization, how you should think about a plan, AI plan for your business, and that will bring kind of the end to the session today. So, let's move on to the next session. So as part of the introduction, I want to basically give you a little bit of context as to why AI is important, why it has become so important over the last 2 years. 5 years ago, we did not know anything about AI. With the birth of ChatGPT, probably about 2.5 years ago, everyone became aware of AI. Now, everyone is talking about AI today. But I just want to show you a little bit of context as to how technology has evolved over last 100 years in this world, right? So this chart basically shows the landscape of technology or landscape of the businesses over 100 years. What you see on the top of the chart is names of companies that were the most valuable companies in each decade, starting from 1920s all the way up to 2020s, and we have a projection in 2030s as well. So when you look at that, you can probably see that in 1920s, the steel manufacturing was a very important thing. I think we started getting, steam engine and, railroads and so on and so forth, and gradually became, mainstream. And then, obviously GM, which is a car manufacturer, became a very important, valuable company, and then went into AT&T, which is a telecommunication company. So when you basically follow the trajectory of that, so you have basically started off with steel, gone into motor vehicles, gone into telephony, and then the computing in 1960s with IBM and so on and so forth. You can see that the impact technology had on the whole world probably after 1950s, after Second World War, right? So when you look at the last 20 years, right, so from 2000 onwards, you can see Apple has played a significant role in making technology available for everyone. And as you know, NVIDIA is a technology AI company that became the most valuable company last year. So when you see the trajectory of all these different technologies, what you see is a prominent technology in each decade, and how that has evolved over the period of time. What is below on those on that main chart is basically three charts, right? So the impact that has had on the global income, the global poverty, the life expectancy. So when you basically kind of map that trajectory from 2000 onwards and align that to the global income, poverty, and life expectancy, you can see that global income has significantly increased, poverty has significantly reduced globally, and life expectancy continues to improve. So these technologies have had a significant impact, whether you are aware of or not, on our lives. What you're going to see is that continuation with AI now. I think it is the era of AI, and this will continue to have a significant impact on every aspect of our life, including our own profession. So that is kind of giving you a perspective on why it matters now, how it has evolved, how we have come so far with technology, and what is going to happen in the next 10 years. So moving on to that, the finance over time has also progressed on the same trajectory. Some of us basically were born in the last century, so some of us might remember some of these things. The computerization basically took over, and the way we do business completely changed. As a result, finance profession also went through significant changes. We basically got new tools. Now we are talking about AI tools, but before that we basically started using computer systems, finance systems and things like that. Regulatory landscape also changed along the same lines. So every decade basically had a new technology that basically significantly impacted all of us, including our own profession, and we basically got new tools. We had to create new regulations, and as a result of these technologies, our job continuously change. So that is basically kind of giving you a little bit of context. So what does that mean for us, right? So when you see that trajectory, that accounting profession has survived, and we have adopted technology progressively to make our profession better and do things much better. So have we basically lost our jobs to any of these technologies? No. We have become the custodian of corporate responsibilities, and that trajectory is going to continue, right? So there is a myth that people are fearful that we will lose jobs, but that has not happened over the last 100 years, and it will not happen in the next 50 years either. But our role, however, will change. Those who adopt technology will continue to basically evolve. Those who basically use technology will continue to evolve, and we will basically refine and define our jobs accordingly. So moving on to the next one, case for AI. Why AI? In 2025, based on my own experience, I have seen AI agents. We talk about AI agents. What is AI agents? AI agent is a tool, an AI that works like a human. So I have seen AI agents that work like a doctor, AI agent that works like a accountant, AI agents that work like architects, many professions. AI agents are here now, and they are basically doing some of the tasks we are doing much more effectively, much more efficiently, and much more faster. Does that mean that they are going to take over our jobs? No. What will happen is they will enable us to do our work faster, do efficiently, do more accurately. So the evolution and revolution of AI agents are here, and that is what is happening in 2025. Now, as you know, there has been a AI boom going on for last 4-5 years. The term is widely known by, even my mother talks about AI, right? So everyone understands the existence of AI, and as a result of it, there is a huge interest for people to learn, huge interest for people to basically understand, huge interest for people to use as well. As students, you may have used ChatGPT to basically do your studies, do your emails, do your work, right? We are leveraging these technologies on a day-to-day basis. So this boom has been going on for 3-4 years now, right? That's where we are today. There is a huge boom. When you read newspapers, most of the time, you see the word AI in at least few articles, right? You see basically the trade war going on at the moment with US, tariff, and AI is basically at the center of it. That's because there is an AI boom, and everyone wants to basically get into that and basically capture the value of it. That's where we are. Now, who is betting on AI? Now, this has a list of companies, list of countries, right? When you look at here, you can see the brand names of top global companies on one side, and you can see all the big names here. So they basically, organizations vary from NVIDIA, which is a chip manufacturer, to OpenAI, ChatGPT, Meta, which is social media, Apple, which is your phone manufacturer, Amazon is where you buy your things, Google is where you basically get your current content, Salesforce is basically a software platform, Oracle is another platform, BYD is a car manufacturer, Tesla is a car manufacturer. All the industries pretty much have invested on AI. They are all large companies. So all large companies have invested on that. On the other hand, when you look at the countries, this is the order in which they are basically dominating the AI field today. US is at the top, but China is giving a big fight for US, as you know. Then there are many other countries in there. So usually the Western world is there, but there are new entrants in here, like China was not there before in terms of basically different technologies evolutions. Now they are basically leading, in fact giving a good run for US dominance. Then you can see India feature in there, Israel feature in there. So there are new players coming and betting big on AI. So everyone basically is betting on AI, every company is betting on AI, and as I said before, there is a huge demand for it. Now with that context, let's understand the layers of AI, right? So there is the onion of AI, right? So there is the hardware layer, which is where you store your data, your models, and you process your models and things like that, which I call is the chips layer. NVIDIA is leading that. Then you have the storage place to store, a cloud environment, if you are familiar with the terminology. You know that Microsoft, Google, Amazon are leading that. Then you have the models layer, like the AI models layer, OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, and there are many others who are basically in that layer. Applications layer, where you basically apply AI in various common day applications. This is an example, but everyone is basically getting into that, and that's where the opportunity is. And education, as you basically studied, and most of the universities also getting into AI education as well. This is what I call the AI layer, or different aspects of AI. Now the jobs, because this is where we all basically have a point of view, right? I'm talking here about AI jobs. People are creating AIs, and what's the demand? And there is a huge demand for it. Some of these jobs basically demand, salary is way more than a CEO normally gets in a company. There's a huge demand at the moment. Junior level, senior level, and top level, all these different levels have a huge demand for these kind of resources. Moving on to a little bit of history of AI. This did not start in 2022. This started way back in probably 1940s. It took probably about 80 years for us to get to this place today. So each decade saw significant evolution of different technologies, different methods that contributed to what you have seen, the explosion today. So you need to basically assume that this explosion or the evolution is going to continue for many years, and you're going to see that basically come through in everyday applications you're going to use. Now the question for all of us is this going to be important in our jobs? Is this a thing I should basically learn? Or some might say that this is not going to impact my job. I'm doing a sophisticated job and it's not going to impact my job, right? This is the dilemma we are all going to have, right? And I'm not going to basically point one way or the other, but we all have this question in mind. But my suggestion to all of you is, it's going to impact every job, every aspect of your life in a meaningful way. So you need to basically embrace technology and leverage technology to improve your life, improve your work, and improve your organization. That is the only way you can basically continue to progress down the lane of innovation. So with that context, right, so we know it is happening, and there is a boom, everyone is investing on it, and it is time for us to think about AI applications in our respective organizations and respective careers. I'm going to go through a few examples or few areas where how AI is basically impacting the finance processes. Now this is external reporting. As we know, some of us are going to work in listed companies, and these listed companies have to produce external reporting at least annually. So when we produce annual reports, as you have seen, as you have studied, these annual reports contain a lot of pages. Some documents contain 500, 600 pages, right? As an investor or as a regulator or as a student, you're going to go through all these documents. Now, most of the organizations who are leading organizations are leveraging AI today. When you go to some of the listed companies in our country and globally, you could see that they have voice activated summaries. You can talk to the annual report and get the information you need. You can also see a customized report that you can generate. For example, if you are a regulator and you are only interested in understanding whether this particular organization is compliant with the regulation, you can basically go and generate a summary to basically meet your objectives. They provide different language support. The annual report might be just in English, and you might be able to get that translated very quickly into any language. It's Sinhala or Tamil in Sri Lankan context, any other language externally. You can generate custom tools. You can basically forecast future outcomes. There's a lot of AI being embedded in these applications to make stakeholders' life easier. So in a listed company, a stakeholder could be the investors, potential investors, regulators, students, academics, or the general public, right? It could be many stakeholders, and you're basically catering to these stakeholders through different AI applications or different AI tools to make their job easier. So that's how AI is being used. I think in time to come, this is the start of this application, the application of AI in an external report. You might not see annual reports at all. So let's move on to the next topic, logistics. Now, one might argue that logistics is not a finance area, like inventory management is not a finance area. But I see this as a critical aspect of a finance governance in an organization. It might not sit in the finance function, but it is a very crucial function of an organization for its continuous improvement, profitability, and customer service, so on and so forth. So what we have seen over the last 5 years, at least after COVID, is automation of warehouses. Globally, when you basically think about a warehouse complex like Amazon warehouse, where they ship millions of items every minute, every hour, all that are done through automated processes or robotic processes. We used to have humans doing all of this before. People basically rostered to do shift work to basically do warehousing work, which is basically getting the order from a customer into the warehouse, then go and pick it from the right shelf, put it onto a bag and dispatch it to the customer, done by humans. Now most of the advanced warehouses are using robots and different technologies to do that. There are material handling equipments like what you see in the picture. Go and pick up the items from the right shelf and then bring it to the loading place or the packing place, and then automatically getting picked up and packed, and that package is going to the dispatch area, which is finally getting picked up by the delivery teams. So So there are fully automated, no human involved warehouses globally, and most of the large operators do that. There might be examples in Sri Lanka where you have seen these kind of operations, and that is what is seeing in many best-in-class organizations globally. Now, what do they use here? They use material handling equipments, these robots, right? So one that some of them fly like flying devices. Some of them basically roll on the floor. Then you have inventory management tools like barcodes tagged to these boxes or the shelves. Then you have storage solutions. The computer systems know exactly where these units are or the stock items are, and they are directed. They can easily direct robots to go and pick up from the right area. And then and there are sophisticated software applications that are leveraged, and all of that are basically powered by AI algorithms. This AI is powering all of these technologies. So this is another huge area where AI is extensively used to make your life, my life easier. You may have heard real-time delivery, same-day delivery within 1 hour. All of these are possible because of these technologies. Now, as an accountant, as a finance profession, when you basically walk into an organization, you might not say it, but this is the art of possibility for you in this current environment. So your inventory management becomes much easier. The software application gives a real-time value of your inventory, real-time value of your quantity in hand, and as an accountant, you should be able to basically understand how stock items are moving within your organization. Are there slow moving items, and then take necessary actions if required to basically reduce bad debts, write-offs and things like that. Also, you don't have to basically go and do a periodic stock counts anymore, and you can do real-time stock counts and verify these inventory items completely differently. So the landscape of where you are walking into, the environment where you are going to basically work in is going to look very different because of AI applications in particularly logistics. So if you basically think about financial planning and budgeting as another application, right, which is a critical application for any organization. Mostly organizations have an annual budgeting planning process. Sometimes some organizations do it 3 times or 4 times every quarter, and that involves a lot of work. You need to understand the current trend and then the trajectory you're on, and then kind of forecast your 12 months ahead or 3 years ahead or 5 years ahead based on your planning cycle and the planning horizon you use in your organization. What is normally done in that, so what used to happen was accountants or professionals basically using tools like Excel back in the day to do these forecasts. Now, AI algorithms can easily do those activities. AI algorithms can basically understand the historical data, can easily forecast your future based on that, also can take into account your other activities that you are planning to do, like marketing activities, your supply activities, and so on and so forth, and can do the work accordingly. So why is it important to use AI? What does it do for us? So let's understand that. When we used to do manually ourselves, we used to make a lot of errors, right? So we used to basically make judgmental errors, calculation errors, and so on and so forth. But these AI tools have given us enhanced forecasting accuracy, can understand data, and then accurately forecast them actually in a more real-time way. You can basically do this much faster, much quicker, and then provide the output, the forecasting output much quicker. And also you can basically do scenario analysis on these ones. You can basically very easily play around with your assumptions or basically make different assumptions and see what that it does to your financial forecast. And you can also automate these ones easily, like uploading these approved financial forecast into your main system and financial systems and things like that. There are many basically tools available today, and these are some of the examples where they provide this capability within those applications themselves. These are basically well-known tools in the industry. Some of your organizations use, you may be familiar with them. If not, if you want to basically understand and study them more, you can probably look up these ones and basically understand what they do, what capabilities they provide, and so on and so forth. Let's move on to another one. Fraud. Now, fraud is a very common thing in the business environment. There are fraudulent activities carried out by staff. There are fraudulent activities carried out by your customers. There are fraudulent activities carried out by external parties. So fraud is a massive threat. Example, you may be getting a lot of text messages saying that there is a delivery coming your way, right? So those are basically done by fraudsters to either steal your first personal information or banking information and take your money out from your bank account. So that's a common problem globally. Now, typically these type of fraud activities cannot be easily prevented manually. So if you were to prevent them manually, just imagine how many messages you get per day, targeting your financials, and think about your bank and how many customers of that bank are basically targeted each day. Probably thousands, maybe millions, right? So it's nearly impossible to prevent them manually. So most of large organizations use AI technologies to identify the fraudulent activities. They are done real time. And then transactions are actually monitored real time, where transaction is occurring from, who is basically doing the transaction, and then taking immediate steps to automatically prevent them. Example, let's say your bank account is compromised or your bank details are stolen by a fraudster. Let's assume that fraudster is in a different area, not in your house or not in your workplace. So your bank should understand that you as a customer normally looks into the account from either your home or the office. So they should have that information. When someone basically steals your information and tries to log into your account, bank should be able to identify, this person is coming completely from a different place. It's very unusual for you to basically your account to be accessed from that, and they can immediately block those activities. So they can only be done using technologies like AI. So you cannot manually do it. There is not enough time to do it manually. Technology can support all of these activities easily. The benefits of doing that are basically real-time monitoring ability. You can recognize patterns. As I said, if you're logging in from two places every day, and that hasn't changed for last many years. At new place, someone logging from a new place should be a pattern. They should be able to recognize, and then as a result, reduce those fraudulent activities. There are basically some tools here listed, and you can probably go and have a look at them. And they are specialized tools. Provide these kind of capabilities for organizations to adopt. So when you walk into an organization where their bad debts is higher because of fraudulent activities, right? Some customers buying your goods or services and not paying, you should be able to basically identify them well in advance to improve your profitability. So as an accountant, it's important that you understand the capabilities AI could provide to improve the operational efficiency of your organization. Okay, let's move on to the next topic, the risk management. The risk environment or the enterprise risk is a key concept you all have learned. Right? Risk management is absolutely critical for any organization to be successful. there are many enterprise risks that you identify within your organization. If you are a bank, you basically have set of risk that are very unique to your industry. If you are a conglomerate, the risks are very different to a bank. If you are a service organization, there are many risks, but that are probably very different to the manufacturing organization. So enterprise risk management is absolutely critical for you to be successful in that. So those risks might include interest rate risk, currency risk, country risk, operational risk, sustainability risk, and so on and so forth. So risk management is a regulatory requirement for most of the organizations, right? So whether you are listed or non-listed, you need to basically have a risk management framework in place. So most of the large organizations globally implement this concept called risk ERPs. So it is like a GL where you classify your main risk categories. So in this example, there are 12 categories, right? So, and then there is a risk score for each one. There is an actual risk score, and there is a threshold, a limit that you tolerate. So this is managed through a platform, or commonly known as risk ERPs. So these risk ERP platforms are powered by AI. What do these AI do? So AI is basically quantify risk, identify risk, assign those risks to people in your organization, and ongoing management of those activities can be carried out by AI calculations, AI generated algorithms, and AI agents. So this is a very new concept, emerging concept, and when you basically walk into an environment where risk management is a very critical element, very important element, which is the case with most of the organizations, you need to think through the emerging technologies like risk ERPs and how you could basically adapt them in your organization. These capabilities provide real-time risk reporting even up to the board level. So board of directors should be able to get, at least the audit committee or the risk committee should be able to get a report like this on a day-to-day basis if that's required. And just by clicking on some of these bars, you should be able to drill down the details. Why if I take this climate risk as a category, drill down, double click, and go in and understand why it is negative or red. So once again, it's another area. AI is deeply embedded and significantly changing the way how things are done in a meaningful way. And these platforms are basically examples of that. Now, I have personally used few of them. RiskWatch, Vanta. Vanta is a very popular cybersecurity risk management platform, commonly used globally, and it provides real-time risk monitoring of your organization and of your applications. Let's move on to a slightly different topic, accounting. So we are going from inventory management to risk to accounting. So we are basically moving across different topics. Now traditionally a GL, a general ledger, is where your records are kept. So we have seen the evolution of general ledger through manual processing to systems which what we call is ERP systems, and now AI playing a significant part in record capture, record maintenance, and record and reporting. So the way these are done is there's a central GL or general ledger, and any other applications you have in your organization. If you are a small organization, you're not going to have many applications. You might only have a GL only, but all these other activities that your accounts, receivable account, payable, invoice generation, purchase order processing, all of them are basically automatically linked to the GL. And most of the activities we used to do manually, like coding, classification, journal entries, and so on and so forth, are taken care of by most of the modern platforms. If you go to SAP, SAP would take care of all of that. If you go to any other cloud-based platforms like MYOB or Xero, if you're using any of the other platforms, most of those platforms provide those capabilities. So AI underneath has gotten rid of or removed the need for manual classification, invoice generation manually, account reconciliations manually, GL processing manually, journal entries processing manually, month-end processing manually. So as a result of that, you can do automatic transaction classification and coding. You only teach once, and then the AI will take care of it. Real-time reconciliation. If you have any anomalies in your GL, anomaly detection, continuous auditing and monitoring, financial closure. You can probably close your finance month end and your books each month much faster, and then you can basically also do certain inputs either through voice or messaging, and you could integrate all the other systems into it. So, and then finally you get your month end reports, your analysis, all of that through the same layer. So that's the impact on accounting due to AI, and you're seeing that across most of the large organizations and most of the other platforms that you can afford to have in a small organization also provide within those platforms as well. So this is kind of your bread and butter. So if the organization you're going to or working in is not doing that, you need to probably think it through that lens to make your organization much more efficient, much more robust, and probably get your month-end closure to at least 1 or 2 days the most. Now, tax compliance. Now, tax is a big topic that has been discussed over the last 2-3 years, particularly in Sri Lanka, because of changes that happened after the financial crisis. But I'm going to give a slightly different lens to this, and I'm going to basically talk it through the lens of a tax regulator here, Inland Revenue, and then I have listed basically top 5 tax regulators globally, being the IRS of the US, and there's a Canadian authority, there's a UK authority, and Australian one. So they are kind of best in class organizations when it comes to collecting tax efficiently from taxpayers. So the criteria here is how sophisticated they are in terms of collecting money from everyone who's liable to pay taxes, and their efficiency is much higher than what we see probably in an economy like Sri Lanka due to the automation and the use of technology, particularly AI in these ones. Now, I'll take the Australian example where I come from, and Australian Tax Authority, or we normally call it ATO, is a very sophisticated tax collecting authority. They are connected to all the banks in the country, all the markets in the country, including crypto markets, all the government authorities like the land registry and so on and so forth. So they collect all of that data into a central database, and within that central database is everyone's transaction, individual and bank, company, and everyone's basically investments, everyone's other property details and so on and so forth. Then it applies algorithms to calculate automatically the liability of each individual. What is the liability of each individual based on the transactions they have collected? So they can easily understand what my liability is, how much I have earned, and how much I should have paid as taxes, and any deviations they can match with their own records, because they also know how much I have paid taxes as well. What they normally do is when I go to file my tax return every year, they give me a free filled tax return. The tax return has my employment income, my dividend income, my interest income, my capital gains if I have sold any properties, my stocks, my crypto, all that are basically free-filled information that ATO provides you. All what I have to do is validate the accuracy of it. Now, what has done to the Australia as a result of it is, their tax efficiency, collection efficiency has gone significantly up, because you cannot hide anymore how much money you make, and what your liability is very clearly visible. And if you significantly deviate from what your liability is, they will basically put you into an audit, and they will come back and question you, your annual return, and then you will have to provide reasonable reasons as to why you have deviated from your assumed revenue. And if the AI has made mistakes, that is possible, they will accept that. But in most of the cases, they will come back and charge you, because often people basically inaccurately provide information, and they can easily catch that. So automated tax filing is the main thing. I think in few years time, maybe next 5 years, by 2030, I think tax returns will be automatically filed, or maybe at least automatically finalized, including company tax returns. They have also introduced quarterly payments, regular payments, to make sure that they collect money much more faster. This includes collecting money from companies as well. And then the compliance, like whether all the taxpayers are compliant, is also can be easily managed, and they can carry out audits now based on exactly what your liability was and what you actually ended up declaring. So they will pick up high risk, high tax evaders for their audit purposes, unlike before. Previously, they just randomly selected certain industries. We also can basically talk to them via different AI agents or chatbots. So that is a phenomenal change we have seen. I have seen over the last 10 years, particularly in Australia, where tax collection authority, which is ATO, has significantly moved from reactive tax filing system to a very proactive pre-filled tax filing system. Let's have a look at auditing and how auditing is done, right? So some of you might not be in the auditing industry, but auditing is also going through the same change there as well. Now, most of the big four, so I've listed some of their platforms here, right? So they use their own auditing platforms to make their auditing processes easier, and most of the international firms use a software application for that. Have introduced from the engagement to the planning to field work and reporting and finalization of audits through these platforms. You issue the engagement letter through that. You basically plan the audit, including staff planning, your risk analysis, and so on and so forth. And then you carry out your basically field work on the platform itself. Now, back in the day when I was an auditor, I used to work for one of the large audit practices in Sri Lanka, which was in one of the big four. We used to carry box files, right? We used to basically have, manual, checking of documents. Now that most of the large organizations are moving away from it and onto a very automated, systematic approach where everything is carried out on a platform and everything is powered by AI applications. Now, this has given the ability to basically do data analysis and processing much easier, risk assessment and anomaly detection easier, automation of repetitive tasks, checking of transactions, preventing, picking up fraudulent activities, and automating workflow, like basically work of a junior to a senior to a manager. All those processes are basically integrated. And then finally, you can basically, do your audit reports, do your account financial statements, and reporting much more easily. And you can integrate all of these also easily into the ERP of the organization that you are basically auditing with. So, having talk about auditing, I want to basically talk about something completely differently. I wanted to basically kind of pick an example where how you could use AI for forensic analysis. This is a case where a listed company information was leaked before they were basically disclosed to the market by someone incorrectly or actually fraudulently. So I was personally involved in this case. So the Vita was a listed company in Australia again, and the information, the fact that this company was going to be acquired by the company I work for was leaked to the market. And the share price of that, as the picture basically depicts, crashed on that day, a huge amount, about $1 billion wiped off from the market. Now, when something like this happened, this is actually insider information going to the market. It's a significant crime when it comes to financial regulation. What we had to do was very quickly identify how it got leaked to the market. There was a newspaper article on that morning, which basically said that this company was going to be acquired. As a result, its share price fell off a cliff. Now, this information was leaked by an employee of the organization, but we did not know who the employee was because this information was not accessible to the entire organization. There was only one piece of evidence that was available. It was the name of the journalist who basically wrote the article on that morning. And we were able to trace who he was linked to, what interactions he had, either phone, text or otherwise, with various employees in the organization, and potentially targeting and identifying and targeting the suspects, right? And we were able to do that using AI and very quickly basically narrow it down to the person who actually leaked the information. Now, there are many tools. This happened many years ago in 2017, but there are many tools available for this kind of analysis today. And all of that are now very sophisticated forensic tools that provide endless capabilities for you to identify various activities. And I have listed some of them here as well. So moving from traditional basically finance into a very specialized forensic accounting or forensic analysis type one, no matter where you look through, all aspects of the finance profession, finance processes have been touched by AI and use of AI. Now, we cannot basically we have to talk about use of generative AI or ChatGPT type tools in this discussion. I work for a company called Telstra. So we have about 30,000 employees, and last year we decided to give 21,000 ChatGPT or Copilot licenses to employees. Before we did that, we did a survey, and what we found out was that, or not a survey, a trial. When we did the trial, we found out that people could use OpenAI or ChatGPT in any field. Doesn't matter whether you are a lawyer, whether you're an accountant, or a marketing professional, sales professional, you could use it, and you could reduce at least 25% of your time each day. You could use these tools as you do today in most of your work, I presume, in any of your activities to make your reading faster, your writing faster, or generating content faster, right? So these are basically all content. Generative AI is basically generating some content, right? So it could be text content, voice content, video content, and so on and so forth. You could achieve significant amount of productivity and improvement within your organization as a result of it. Now I'm going to basically very quickly go through tools that you could use. Now you saw different applications in multiple areas of finance, right? So you saw probably traditional accounting, auditing, and then new areas like forensic and other areas of your profession. Now I'm going to quickly go through different tools you could use. Now you need data for all your work, right? So without data you can't do most of the things, right? So data is absolutely critical. There are many tools that allow you to do data faster, and I have listed some of these examples here. Once you get data, you obviously have some insights you can have from the data. Data always have the insights that inform your business decisions and basically strategic thinking. There are many tools available for your insights generation as well, and some of them are being used by your organizations as well. Now, as I said before, AI agent is a very common theme that is basically coming up in this year, and then will continue to evolve. Your AI agent will do any task you ask agent to do like a human. So you can train these agents and get them to do your work faster and multiply the staff members in your organization maybe by 100 times, right? So make sure when you walk into organization, if you are resource constrained, you start first thinking about AI agents before you basically think about more staff. AutoML is a specialized area, but as an accountant, if you are interested in learning machine learning algorithms and things like that, there are tools available today that you can use for your automatically. So you just tell the problem and it will generate it will recommend the algorithm type you need, and you will be able to basically generate machine learning algorithms. And then any workflow automations that you have, there are very specialized robotic tools, but I think AI agents will also provide those automation capabilities as well. Now, how do you get a plan on a page for your organization if you are thinking of doing an AI transformation? This is where you can probably go and talk to your new management or talk to your new organization and say, I want to basically do an AI transformation in my business. And this is an example of what you can do, right? So you have a purpose at the top, where your purpose is to basically empower your decision making, to do it faster, and then you basically have different objectives under different areas. So I have basically listed 3. You can have many more. This is kind of a template for you to use. Data is one, so you need to basically have data accessible. That is one goal. Then you have tools. Obviously, AI agents is a common one, as I said. And then you basically target different processes through that. And also you need to make sure that you target results through that, right? So I have given some examples. 100% utilization of AI agents in all finance activities is a measurable target. Month end close by on day 1 is another target. So your month finishes on 31st of the month, and then by the next day your month end is done. So these are some of the targets. So this is kind of a scorecard, transformational scorecard that you can leverage for your organization. So use this as a template and tweak the way you want, and then talk to your boss, talk to your management, talk to your organization, and present a plan. That's the way forward. Now, coming back, as I said, we've seen a significant evolution of technologies over many years, and AI is doing that right now. We're in the middle of a boom, and it is going to impact all of us, and those who basically embrace technology will continue to flourish, succeed, and I wish all of you good luck